Reading practice in B2 English level.
A letter to my future wife. Dear sweetheart, I don't know if we have already met by the time you read this letter. Perhaps you are sitting somewhere in our home, holding these pages and smiling at the thought that your husband once wrote something like this long before he even knew you. Or maybe one evening I will hand this to you and say, "Look, sweetheart, I wrote this before our story even began." There is also another possibility. Right now, while I am writing these words, you are somewhere in the world living your own life. Maybe you just finished a long day at work. Maybe you are laughing with friends over coffee. Maybe you are walking home under the quiet lights of the evening, thinking about the future. Life moves like that sometimes. Two people live their separate stories for years without realizing that one day those stories will meet. My life right now is quite ordinary. Morning comes, responsibilities begin, and the mind keeps wandering toward tomorrow. Some days I feel full of energy and determination. Other days I simply sit quietly and wonder where life will lead me next. But one belief stays with me. Somehow, sooner or later, life will guide me to you. And when that day finally arrives, sweetheart, I hope I will have already grown into someone who can stand beside you with confidence. Not a perfect man, just someone dependable, someone calm, someone who can walk with you through both peaceful days and uncertain ones. I don't dream about a life filled with luxury. Those things fade faster than people expect. What I hope for is something simpler and maybe more meaningful. A warm home, soft lights in the evening, two people sitting together after a long day, sharing small stories that no one else in the world would find interesting. A peaceful life is not something we simply receive. It is something we slowly build, piece by piece. That is why I keep working, learning, and pushing myself forward. Not to impress anyone, not to prove anything to the world, but because one day you will walk into my life, sweetheart, and I want to be ready when that moment comes. Before we meet, there are a few things I should honestly tell you. Your future husband has a couple of strange habits. For example, I tend to stay up very late. Many nights I promise myself I will sleep early, then somehow the clock quietly reaches 2 in the morning and I am still awake doing something completely unnecessary. Another small detail you might notice: at home, I rarely wear a shirt. Comfort wins that battle every time. So if one day you see me walking around the house like that, please don't be too surprised. I promise I will behave a little more properly whenever guests arrive. There is another habit I should confess. Sometimes I spend money on vehicles more easily than I spend money on myself. Yes, I know, it sounds a little ridiculous. But don't worry, I will try to control that weakness. At least a little. There is something about me that might make you smile, though. I have always loved animals. Because of that, I secretly carry a small dream. One day, it would be wonderful to have a little farm somewhere quiet, a place filled with open space and fresh air. Maybe that dream is a bit too big. So if that never happens, having a dog and a cat would already make a house feel alive. A home becomes warmer when small paws run across the floor. Sweetheart, I also want you to feel completely comfortable being yourself. If cooking is not something you know how to do yet, that is perfectly fine. We can learn together. Our first meals might taste terrible, but those imperfect dinners will probably become the funniest memories later. If driving feels difficult for you, that is also okay. I will teach you step by step. Just promise me one small thing. When you practice driving, please try not to crash into my car. That would make the lesson much more stressful. There is another thing I understand about women. Sometimes silence is necessary. Sometimes a person does not want advice or solutions or explanations. Sometimes the heart simply needs quiet. If there are days when you feel tired, thoughtful, or distant, I will not force you to talk. Instead, I will give you space. But even when I step back a little, sweetheart, I will still be watching quietly, just to make sure you're okay. Because caring about someone doesn't always mean standing right beside them. Sometimes it means staying nearby, while respecting their silence. You should also know something about my personality. I am not the kind of man who constantly speaks sweet words. Grand speeches are not really my style. But once in a while, when the moment feels right, you might hear something unexpected. A small sentence, a thoughtful gesture, something that surprises you. Because love is often quiet, it appears through actions, not noise. And if you are worried that marriage might take away your playful side, don't worry too much. Your husband is still a little childish himself. There will probably be evenings when our home feels less like the house of two responsible adults and more like two people still learning how to grow up together. Honestly, I think that kind of life sounds pretty wonderful. I hope we will talk often, not only about serious topics like responsibilities or plans, but also about random things. Why sunsets make people feel peaceful. Why music can suddenly bring back old memories. Why we enter a supermarket to buy 2 items and somehow come home with 10. These small conversations are what make everyday life meaningful. I also hope both of us continue chasing our own dreams. Your ambitions should never shrink just to fit inside my life. Instead, our 2 worlds should meet and expand together. Seeing you passionate about something would make me proud. Supporting your dreams would make our partnership stronger. As for me, I will keep doing what I can, working steadily, learning constantly, growing little by little, because building a family requires stability, and I want to give that to you. One day, if children enter our lives, I hope they will see their mother as someone strong, wise, and kind, someone they admire. As for their father, I will do my best to become a man they respect, although I cannot promise they will always enjoy my jokes. Sweetheart, I still don't know what you look like. Maybe your smile lights up a room, maybe your beauty is simple and calm. Either way, I don't think appearance will be the reason my heart chooses you. More likely it will be the kindness in your actions, the warmth in your voice, the way you treat people with sincerity. Those qualities last much longer than anything else. Before I finish this letter, there is something simple I want to say. Even though we have not met yet, knowing that you exist somewhere in this world already changes the way I live. It encourages me to become better, stronger, more thoughtful, because one day our paths will cross, and when that day arrives, sweetheart, I hope I can look at you and say something very simple. Sweetheart, let's build a beautiful life together. And now I have one small question for you. If you are reading this letter sometime in the future, please answer me honestly. Right now, inside our refrigerator, is there still a piece of tiramisu left?